Welcome to the Rays of Light and Light Body Activation Masterclass. A masterclass is a time to set the intention for mastery. Our agenda today is threefold. First, we are going to explore the qualities of the rays. Second, we're going to look at the master spiritual guides that we know that are aligned with each of the rays. And third, we explore the archangels and the archangelic league of light that are aligned with each of the rays. First, we're going to understand together what the rays are. The rays that we are working with in this program are the 7 sacred rays of light. The rays are unique vibrational frequencies of light. They are taught in many different ways, in many different ancient traditions, and we are synthesizing that knowledge in this program for the purposes of healing. To understand them, we have to shift, however, from a planetary consciousness to a cosmic consciousness, because that is where our healing practice is originating. We are opening up to and receiving the light of the cosmic rays. And this is best illustrated in this model. Here you can see the light that is, the sun is also a reflection of the light radiating from the center of the cosmos, and that radiates out to Earth. The Pleiades, Arcturus, and Sirius serve as pathways that the light travels through to reach us. Our chakra centers, which are illustrated in the outside of this model, are the physical places in our bodies that we anchor into this light. Sacred geometric forms act like giant receivers and transmitters of particles of light. That is why we have the yantra. So the yantra is the symbol of each chakra. So these symbols that you see, that you commonly see when you Google chakra centers, you see different versions of these geometric symbols. These geometric symbols originated at the time of the writing of the Tantric Sutras, which predates Christianity. These symbols are the sacred geometric forms that act like giant receivers. So your physical Muladhara doesn't look like that Muladhara symbol. However, when you align vibrationally with the frequency of those geometric symbols at the center of each chakra, you also align with the frequencies of the rays of light. This is a process that transcends time and space. This means that the frequencies of the rays are omnipresent. There is never a time that we cannot align with their frequency when using the proper tools. All of this happens then through the process that we are learning. So how do you align with those sacred geometric frequencies? Well, we do it specifically. We create a bridge in our practice through attention to the sacred geometry, through our breath, and through our attention to the light. And this bridge allows our human consciousness to come into alignment with our highest self. It is a formula that has been used for centuries, and we are just learning how to understand it and work with it more in this. This entire process then occurs through our attunements. It occurs through our deep attention in the present moment, through the process of breath work, meditation, energy healing, and hypnosis. This also happens within our DNA framework. We attune to the rays through the tetrahedron. The tetrahedron is aligned with the frequency of all of the rays. The tetrahedron is also multidimensional and invites us into alignment. As we bring our attention to the tetrahedron, we enter into alignment with the light of the 7 rays in meditation. I want you to think of this process as an exercise. And when you first start any exercise, it is hard to appreciate the results of proper form because you're just getting started. However, over time, as you practice, as you repeat the same exercise, like a push-up here you see illustrated, you perfect your form. And it is through that repetition where you perfect your form that you're able to appreciate and even recognize the strength in your form that came through repetition. So in the beginning, you can't see it. You have to trust the process that this repetition is going to strengthen your own internal and external energetic field as your field comes into alignment with these geometric frequencies. It also comes into greater alignment with the 7 sacred rays of light. And this entire process is facilitated through the very healing journey that you are already on, that integrates hypnosis with energy healing, breath work, and meditation to bring you into alignment with these multidimensional frequencies of light. And in our DNA healing framework, we remember that this activation is not linear and it is different for each person and it can happen at a different time. So you may feel activated in the center of a hypnotic state, or you may feel activated on your own on a Saturday morning when you're not in meditation and you're outside and you have a transcendent experience with your breath in Mother Nature's embrace. Or it may happen when you are in the center of the meditation, like exactly when you're being held by the light and your spiritual guide comes to you, you have an enlightening experience. All of those places are where the activations happen and where our attunement to the light happens. And when we recognize that it's different for each of us, and it's just your job and my job to honor our own individual moments and experiences that bring us into unity with the light. In this specific masterclass, we are going to look at how that happens through 3 different lenses. The first lens is the qualities of the rays. So how do the rays show up in our lives, mentally and emotionally? How do they manifest physically in our outside worlds? We're then going to look at how the light of the rays manifest as our spiritual guides. And finally, how the light of the rays manifest through the Archangelic League of Light. We're going to start by looking at the scientific qualities of the light. So when we talk about the rays are ultimately light. They are rays of light. And what is a ray of light? First is what we're going to explore. So light is made of photons. Photons have no mass. However, gravity affects light and alters photons to something called a polariton. A polariton is a quasi-particle formed when photons couple strongly with excitons. And what that means is that they are half light, photon, and half matter, exciton. They result from a strong coupling of electromagnetic waves that repels each other electrically or magnetically. So let's see what that looks like. Polaritons are, if you see this image here, you see looks like something in between those 2 blue sheets. And that is the polariton, which is an energy that is released when 2 other energies repel one another. So in repulsion, in this natural phenomenon of the light, there is a generation of energy. So this is a basic scientific fact that we can understand about the light. This phenomenon shows us energetically that there is new energy born from events that cause disruption and repulsion. Also, so that is on a micro scale. Now, on a macro scale, astronomers have found a high energy neutrino. A neutrino is a cosmic ray that originated during a tidal disruption event when a supermassive black hole shredded a distant star. So I'm going to read to you an explanation of what happened. This is actually a recently published article in the Journal of Nature Astronomy on February 22nd, 2021, and I am actually recording this on March 11th. It's now 11:21 a.m. So there is a magic occurring in our ability to be able to cross-reference the work that we are doing with published studies in other fields that are complementary so rapidly and synchronistically. So I'm going to read this article to you to help. This really helps to understand this energetic phenomenon even more. Cosmic rays are high energy particles that travel through space at close to the speed of light. Many origins of cosmic rays have been suggested, and some confirmed. For example, supernova explosions generate them, but supernovae can't explain the quantity of cosmic rays bombarding Earth at all times. I prefer the word radiating onto Earth at all times. So cosmic ray origins are still largely mysterious. In particular, high energy neutrinos are largely unexplained, although some come from blazars. Now astronomers have pinpointed the origin of a high-energy neutrino, linking it to a cataclysmic event in which a star got too close to a supermassive black hole and was shredded. When a star passes too close to a supermassive black hole, the kind that is believed to lurk in the center of most galaxies, including our Milky Way, the black hole shreds the star, rips it apart in an event so violent that it makes the center of the galaxy glow many times brighter than it normally does for several years. That is a tidal disruption event. During this event, the star goes through a process of stretching called spaghettification. Tidal disruption events are not well understood yet either, and the new research helps shed light on it. The team, led by scientist Robert Stein, traced the neutrino back to what they think could be a gigantic natural particle accelerator. He explained, "This is the first neutrino linked to a tidal disruption event, and it brings us valuable evidence. Tidal disruption events are not well understood. The detection of the neutrino points to the existence of a central, powerful engine near the accretion disk, spewing out fast particles." I did not know what an accretion disk was, and so I included it here for you. For both of us. An accretion disk in astrophysics, if we just look at it generally, it looks a lot like a chakra center, honestly. It's definitely a vortex of light. In astrophysics, however, accretion is the accumulation of particles into a massive object by gravitationally attracting more matter, typically gaseous matter, in an accretion disk. Most astronomical objects, such as galaxies, stars, and planets, are formed by accretion processes. So the process of accretion is really a central way that energy forms, both in our universe and in our own bodies. And what this is sharing is that there is a speed, an accelerated natural particle accelerator that exists at the center of these accretion disks that is birthing these neutrinos. So the combined analysis of data from radio, optical, and ultraviolet telescopes gives us additional evidence that the tidal disruption event acts as a gigantic particle accelerator, which is exactly what the polariton research shows us that there is energy that is birthed out of cataclysm, out of disruptions. And what that helps us understand when we return to the basics of understanding light is that light is made of energy. Energy has a mass to it. Mass also has a gravity. So if light is made of energy and energy has mass and mass has a gravity, then that leads us to believe that light has gravity, that there's a gravitational pull to light that is actually healing. However, this statement is controversial, that light has gravity, and that is why understanding polaritons is important, because it helps us to understand energetically the way light moves. Light generates a gravitational field equivalent to its mass. So what we know is that gravity is equivalent to the mass of the object. So the gravitational field of Earth is equivalent to the mass of Earth. The gravitational field of light, however, cannot be measured because we're unable to measure the mass of light. This is where the science ends, and we begin our exploration of the spiritual qualities of light. Because where science stops in their understanding, the ancient mystery schools step in, and they help us to see that light is emanating through the great central sun, through the Pleiades, through Sirius, through Arcturus, and through these cosmic rays that scientists think are bombarding our planet. These cosmic rays are being gifted to our planet, and they are radiating down on our planet, and they are here for us to harness and heal and activate our own light bodies in ways that are part of our destiny as a singular race of humans on Earth, rising up into an ascended state of living. And as we, from our spiritual practices, as we dwell on the gravitational field of the light that we know that we are working with, it is so immense and so much greater than the gravitational field of anything that is on the earth, that it helps us to understand when we bring our attention outside of our earth. And actually, I added another layer here because my size of the earth is way off, like in mathematical measurements, to the size of the sun. If you see, the earth is a tiny little dot there. I've inserted the image of our actual sun. That's the size of the sun. You see Jupiter, which is the largest planet. That's the size of Jupiter in comparison with the sun. And then you see the earth, which is like that tiny little dot. So that is us on that tiny little dot. And that is just our sun. That is not even taking into account all of the other cosmic rays of light that we are connecting to and breathing through our bodies. And so the power of this light, the gravitational field of this light, the potential gravitational field, if we were able to measure it, is so immense. And it explains why the healing that we experience is transformational, and it occurs multidimensionally within our mind, our emotions, our physical life. The healing happens on so many levels because we are working with this light that is so much more powerful than I am able to express in this masterclass, but it is powerful. This light that we are working with is so powerful. It is the cure is in the light. We're going to explore next the spiritual qualities of the rays. Everything from this section of the masterclass is from my updated Chakra Healing for Transcendent Health book. You can not read the chapter on the rays in the first edition of my book because there are so many errors in it. as I wrote that book in 2016 when I was being first introduced to the rays. I have rewritten that book, but it's not republished yet, so you don't have the latest version of it. This masterclass gives you the most up-to-date explanation of the rays based on my work that I'm doing with you in this program. The rays can be described as high vibrational vortices of divine light emanating from the cosmic heart of God. As we bring our attention to each ray, we align with its vibrational frequency. These frequencies radiate through our energy field and allow us to be conscious of ourselves as beings of light. They further assist in the activation of our dormant DNA and our awakening to our multi-dimensional truth as master beings of love and light. There's not one accepted view of the divine rays of light. I've studied the rays of light and worked with them in meditation since 2016, and what I know is that each ray emanates from the white light at the center of all that is. When you study the different interpretations of the rays, you notice that each ray is described as a different color and emanating through a different chakra depending on the interpreter. For me, it's been less about knowing about each ray and memorizing the color and chakra and angels, and more about experiencing each ray. Within each individual ray contains the light of all the other rays. Through experiencing the rays, I've felt this rainbow of light emanating through each of the rays in a slightly different way. Here's an introduction to each ray. The first ray. The first ray is also called the ruby ray. The first ray of divine will and power is seen as both ruby red and blue, radiating through both the Muladhara and Vishuddha. The ruby ray emanates the power of God. It brings the qualities of strength, balance, individuality, vitality, singleness of purpose, and clear vision. It aligns your willpower with God and fuels you with personal power, empowered by the divine. It clears low vibrational patterns that manifest as manipulation, power, and control. To integrate with the ruby ray, trust, surrender, and allow higher light to guide you. To step into your power fully requires deep compassion, wisdom, and love. It requires courage to let go of illusions that no longer hold true for you. The first ray provides you with a foundation of light to know your power through love and forgiveness. The second ray. The second ray of love and wisdom is seen as both sky blue and yellow, radiating through both your Vishuddha and Sahasrara. The second ray emanates the wisdom of God. It brings the qualities of wisdom, understanding, illumination, unconditional love, compassion, detachment, and integrity. It clears resentment and anger. To integrate with the second ray, trust, surrender, and allow higher love to guide you. The experience of love is only possible through unity with the divine in this sacred center, where your creative nature is experienced and karmic bonds are realized and released. The second ray is a frequency of light to align you with your highest wisdom through love and forgiveness. The third ray. The third ray of divine intelligence is seen as both yellow and pink and radiating through both the Anahata and Manipura. The third ray emanates the intellect of God. It brings the qualities of goodness, compromise, and beauty. It clears any lesser than or better than complexities and allows you to release mental superiority. To integrate the third ray, trust, surrender, and allow higher light to illuminate the divine equality of all consciousness. Alignment with the mind of God comes through unity consciousness. The third ray builds form through consciousness of service in love. The third ray is a frequency of light that aligns you with your highest intellect through love and forgiveness. The fourth ray. The fourth ray of harmony through conflict is seen as both emerald green and white and radiates through your Anahata and Muladhara. It emanates the peace of God. It brings the qualities of purity, resurrection, and joy. To integrate with the fourth ray, trust, surrender, and allow conflict as a pathway to peace. The fourth ray is at the center of creation. It is where we embrace conflict and resistance as pathways to trust and surrender. Through the fourth ray, we create life and root our highest selves in the light. The fourth ray is a frequency of light that aligns you with peace through love and forgiveness. The fifth ray. The fifth ray of concrete knowledge is seen as both orange and green and radiates through your ajna. The fifth ray of concrete knowledge emanates the truth of God. It brings the qualities of mental health and focus. It's where you manifest divine insights as a co-creator and where you understand your God self. To integrate with the fifth ray, trust and surrender to the dance between your logic and your intuition. The fifth ray balances the masculine and feminine mind, logic and intuition. It is the place where your three eyes, your intuition, your spiritual mind, and your higher mind come together to perceive reality. The fifth ray is a frequency of light that aligns you with truth through love and forgiveness. The sixth ray. The sixth ray of devotion and idealism is seen as both orange and violet and radiates through your Manipura. The sixth ray emanates the abundance of God. It brings the qualities of spirit in action, ministry, sisterhood and brotherhood, and divine love. Devotion in service, in love to others, is free of ego. When you serve others in this way, you are truly serving yourself. Through your actions and devotion to God, you inspire others and yourself to your highest potential. To integrate with the sixth ray, trust and surrender to both your call to serve and your highest ideals. In the light of the sixth ray, you realize spirit is everywhere and harmonize with the Divine Mother and Divine Father. From this place, you can easily see through the veils of illusion. The sixth ray brings purification. It helps us to stand in our power. The sixth ray is a frequency of light that moves spirit into action through love and forgiveness. The seventh ray. The seventh ray of ceremonial magic is seen as indigo, purple, and silver and radiates through your Svatisana. The seventh ray of ceremonial magic emanates the justice of God. Through ceremonial magic, we receive manifestation, freedom, mercy, and compassion. Within the seventh ray, we're birthed into the golden age. It allows us to transmute all that is not of the light. To integrate with the seventh ray, trust and surrender to the highest freedom and justice for all. The seventh ray helps us to combine power, love, and wisdom. It assists us in the fusing of spirit and matter. It inspires us to work together for the betterment of humanity. The seventh ray is the ray of miracle workers. The seventh ray is a frequency of light that unites us with our highest self through love and forgiveness. I also want to end this overview of the rays by reflecting on the words freedom and justice, when the seventh ray inspires freedom and justice. And that sounded really familiar to me, freedom and justice for all. I found that the Pledge of Allegiance, which if you are an American and you've gone to public school, you know the Pledge of Allegiance, which is, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. They ask you to put your hand over your heart and say, to the republic for which it stands, one nation indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I just wanted to share with you this alignment that I found with the seventh ray of ceremonial magic, which is the highest and most transformative of all the rays, and the pledge that we make as Americans to liberty and justice for all. I find this to be powerful and very positive in our alignment as Americans with these highest ideals, even if they're not being acted out always or recently in our third dimensional reality. There is an alignment with liberty and justice for all, and this country as Americans that we live in, that I find to be an empowering energy for us all to tap into. We want to think of the rays for our healing purposes, like the musical scale. We are going to learn to play the rays melodically for healing, just as you would play an instrument. So I want you to think of how you would play an instrument. You would bring your attention to the keys or the strings, which are your tools, and you would pay attention to usually a sheet of music that gave you direction as to which keys to hit in order to create your music. We are creating music in the same way, but instead of bringing our attention to the keys or the strings to create the music, we are bringing our attention to the qualities of the rays, which we've just learned. Next, we'll be bringing our attention to the spiritual guides of the rays, and finally, the archangelic league of light that is aligned with each ray. And through these lenses, through bringing our attention to these three different places, we create the music that results in the healing. We play the rays in the same way we attune to the rays, through meditation, breath work, hypnosis, and energy healing. Our alignment with the sacred geometric frequencies of light are what we use to play each ray and attune to its light. What we can trust is that the 7 rays hold a steady vibrational frequency, and attunement is a result of repetition, the repetition of our attention to these steady vibrational frequencies that are the 7 rays. We do this through meditation, through our hypnotic practice in this program, through our breath, through our energy healing, and through the tools of sacred geometry and sound. We activate our life force that permeates reality on all levels. There is a life force at the center of each of the rays, and as we bring our attention to the light, we activate our life force, and this results in our attunement. What I want to leave you with is this quote from the Tantric Sutras that encapsulates all that we are learning, which is what is here is elsewhere, what is not here is nowhere. And I want you to think of this today in light of the rays as a mathematical process. So there is math, there is a mathematical perfection in the rays. And we can trust in this perfection. And just like regular math that you learn, sometimes when you learn the elementary concepts, you don't get it 100%. You don't like know all of your times tables perfectly, or, long division really stumps you. And however, the journey of math is that it continues to build upon itself. So when you graduate from those elementary concepts, you learn those elementary concepts again in your middle school years inside of algebra and geometry. And furthermore, you expand on those same basic concepts again as you graduate into high school in like trigonometry and calculus. So the progression of your mathematical journey of understanding how numbers align in our world is similar to our progression of understanding the light. When we start out in first grade, it's hard to understand the complexity of calculus when we're in first grade, and we're not meant to. We're meant to just understand the basic concepts. And we also don't have to be hard on ourselves if we don't get every basic concept, because we're going to be repeating it over and over again as we continue through this journey. And so you can trust the process, and that it's in the repetition that you find your excellence and your mastery. And it is all connected. So as you bring greater attention to the light, you grow in your clarity of the light, and it becomes easier and you become stronger. And it's very natural and organic, and it's foolproof. Like, you can't bring your attention to the light over and over and over and over again for weeks and months and years without this transformation happening. So there is a trust that I encourage you to step into in this process that we are entering into. There is a perfection in the light, and that is what we are practicing in understanding and working with and harnessing for healing.